You guys know what time it is. It's mobility time, KG, Rough to be Buff TV. Follow along with me if you got a really super tight back and really super tight hips. Grab a mat, put on some chill music, let's go. So the first exercise or the first stretch that we're doing today, guys, is a frog stretch. So with the frog stretch, you're gonna need a nice good wide base with your knees, okay? Super wide base. Now spread those knees, and then you're gonna plant your forearms to the ground, and you're just gonna push your hips back towards your heels. Just allow yourself to kind of sink into this stretch naturally. You can even try kind of just dropping your chin and just chilling out at the bottom. All of these stretches that we're doing today, guys, you can hold anywhere between 30 seconds upwards of 45 seconds, whatever floats your boat, whatever how much time you have to get the exercises done. So now that you've got a frontal view, I'm gonna give you kind of a side view, spreading those knees nice and wide, and then just sitting those hips back. Using your forearms to just lightly drive into the ground to help you sink your hips and your crotch lower to the ground. So now that we've completed the frog stretch, we're gonna go into the ninja. So now the ninja is gonna be on all fours in a tabletop position. Hands and knees, you're gonna take your foot, you're gonna kick it out to the side. Make sure that your foot is completely flat to the ground. From there, you're gonna sit your hips back. Notice that I'm not doing this with my foot. I'm not rocking that foot up. I'm trying to keep the entire sole of my foot completely flat to the ground, and then just allowing my chest to sink down closer to the ground. So when we're gonna switch sides here, kicking that foot out, nice and wide, and then sitting those hips back. And you should feel a real good stretch on the inside of the thigh, your groin area. And I'm gonna go kind of like light speed today just for the sake of time, but if you guys wanna stretch longer, just pause the video. Let yourself stretch as long as you feel as you need. Okay, the next movement, we're going into a kneeling hip flexor stretch. Now it's very important, guys, that you guys have your hips tilted in the proper direction. You want to be tucking your tailbone. You don't want to be arching your back here, because arching your back means you're not going to feel the stretch. So if you don't feel this stretch, you may not have your hips tucked under. So tucking that tailbone like a bad dog. So I'm going to get into a kneeling position. From here, making sure I'm not overarching. It's not about leaning like this. We're not doing the Captain Morgan here, guys, okay? We're doing a hip flexor stretch. So what we want to do, I'm going to kind of tighten my shirt so you can see my low back. I'm going to tuck those hips, and then I'm just going to lean forward. I'm going to maintain my hips being tucked. I'm not like this. Tuck your tailbone under, and that's all it really takes. I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure, like start to lean, but maintain that hip tuck. That's the most important part, is maintaining that hip tuck, and you don't really have to do this huge excessive lean. If you see people doing this stretch, you still do get a stretch, but it's going to be much more effective if you guys have those hips tilted. So we'll switch sides, and remember, we're going to tuck that tailbone under, and I'm going to start to kind of shift my weight forward, driving that back toe into the ground. This does not take much, just a small little lean. And what we're trying to do here is open up. You should feel this stretch right in the hip flexor, right here. Not in the thigh, maybe a little bit thigh, but mainly right where your hip creases. Right in the crease of your hip. That's where you should be getting the kneeling hip flexor stretch. So moving on from there, we're going to go into some Spidermans with external rotation. So Spidermans, you're going to take right foot, take a nice big step. So your toes are about even with your fingers here. Now there's one of two ways to go about this. You can either take this hand and drive on the inside of the knee and kind of open up the ribs into kind of a forced external rotation to kind of open up the hip socket. The second way to go about this is you're going to put your hands on the inside of the leg. You're going to act as if your outside of your foot is like a hinge. I'm going to walk my hands over. I may have to walk my body over as well, and let this knee kind of collapse towards the ground. I should get a hip stretch right on the inside of that hip socket, and then just kind of hang out there for a second. I'll give you guys a lateral view. Switch legs. Remember, we can either push the leg out, or we can use that foot as a hinge, walk the hands over, walk the back leg over, and then go into external rotation. If you want to intensify this stretch while the shin is vertical, you can also try dropping the elbow nice and low. You should feel that right on the inside of the hip, also probably the back of the hamstring as well. And kind of combo those movements together. A little external rotation, a little elbow drop. If you're feeling really saucy, you can go into rotations. Either side too, either side. Both rotations are good. But I don't want to go too far into detail on this stretch. That's the Spider-Man. So moving on from the Spider-Man, we're going to go into the pigeon. One of my favorite all-time stretches for your hips. Now the pigeon, you're going to basically be in a push-up position. From here, you're going to take your right leg, you're going to slide it right underneath your stomach. Okay, that back leg is going to slide away. Get a wide base with your hands. I don't want to see you just like resting here at the bottom. Okay, kind of losing your lumbar. So keep your back in extension and then just widen out your hands and then let that back hip sink towards the ground. So you're going to have to search for your perfect stretch. Everybody is different, but maintain integrity to your spine. As you can see, I'm kind of widening my hands out. I'm allowing that hip to sink down into the ground. We'll go ahead and switch sides, give you guys a frontal view here. So push-up position, you're going to slide that leg underneath your stomach. Now you can see this whole shin is flat, this foot is flat, my back is straight, my wide-handed base. And I'm just going to widen out my hands and kind of spread out my hands across the floor, keeping a nice good straight spine. My left glute is much tighter than my right. And once again, what are we doing? We're searching for that stretch. So I'm just kind of tilting my hips, rocking my hips a little bit. Another way to intensify this stretch is you can try walking your hands out in different directions. Now this is going to help you stretch out your lats, your low back. You can go way out in front. You can go out to the side. There is no wrong way to stretch. The only wrong way to stretch is if you're actually feeling pain in your joints, and then we're on a bad path. But you guys can explore that movement. Whatever feels clever, you go for it, okay? So now that the pigeon stretch is complete, let's move on to the next movement. The next one is going to be a 90-90, okay? So this one's kind of tricky. You're going to have to set up in 90-degree angles at both of your knees here, okay? So you can start with your hands to the ground, or you can go no-handed, depending on where your level of flexibility is. So the 90-90 here, 90-degree at this knee, 90-degree at this knee. That's what 90-90 means. So what we're going to do is we're going to start lifting that top leg. Probably see my dirty feet. And then once I get to a sticking point here, like I can't rotate that hip any further, this bottom leg is going to follow. And then I'm going to square up both of my feet flat to the ground. And then we're going to collapse to the opposite side into another 90-90. In this position, if I lean forward, I could get a little stretch in my hips here. Place your hands. It's basically just a different variation of the pigeon. Once again, we're raising that top leg, keeping this knee planted to the ground. So I'm going to raise that top leg as far as I can take it. That's my sticking point. Now the other leg is going to follow. Both of my feet land at the same time. They're nice and flat. And then I'm going to switch sides. Okay? So those are your 90-90s. I would do those in probably repetitions of 6 to 8, meaning 3 or 4 per side, rotating the top. Boom, square up, open up the hips, and then collapse to the other side. And if you got to make adjustments, make adjustments. I would suggest going through this whole routine 2 times, and you're going to walk out of this routine feeling very, very limber in your hips, very, very loose. I must warn you, doing the 90-90s for the first time, you're going to feel some stiffness in your hip. It's not going to feel very fun. But the goal is to keep practicing and getting better. So on top of the 90-90s, we're going to do a strengthening exercise for the hip. So in this position, What we're gonna do is external rotations to holds. So you can see I'm planting my hands out here. I'm gonna be lifting that lifting that top leg off the ground and then holding. 3, 2, 1, and then setting down. And we're gonna do the opposite now. We're gonna lift the foot, internal rotation. 3, 2, 1, set down. Lift the knee. 3, 2, 1, set down. You can see I'm not changing the structure of my upper body. 3, 2, 1. I have to forewarn you that internal rotation, lifting the foot, some people can't do it. You don't have the flexibility, you don't have the hip strength to complete it. It's totally fine as long as the intention is there. So let's switch sides. We're going to lift up that top leg. Boom. You should get a little flex in the hip flexor. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and set down. Lifting that top leg again. 3, 2, 1. Now we'll go into internal rotation. 3, 2, 1. Set down. 3, 2, and 1. So you guys can go through those as many rounds as you feel as you need. I'd suggest somewhere between 3 and 4 times per side. So moving on to the next movement, we have a crisscross glute stretch. So the crisscross glute stretch is going to be flat on your back. Now what we're going to do here is you're going to cross right over left, just like you're sitting in a chair. So take both hands, one hand right on the outside of the knee, one hand supporting the foot. You're going to be using your left hip flexor. That's going to help you assist in rocking your hips off the ground and then getting a nice good stretch in your hips. If you want to intensify this stretch, I take this hand and I push down on my knee. You should be getting a stretch right on the inside of your hip flexor. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and set down. We'll do 2 more. Rocking that leg up. Left leg driving up. Pushing down with my right. 3, 2, 1. We'll do 1 more time. Scooping the hips. Pushing down on the knee. Remember, very passive. You're not forcing anything. Just trying to get a nice, good, healthy stretch. So, kind of show you guys a bottom view here. We'll switch over to the left leg. You're going to cross left over right. Hand on the outside of the foot. Going to box up the opposite foot. Check out the bottom of my dirty feet. Boom. Nice, good hip stretch. Relax your head onto the ground. 2, 1. And then rock down nice and slow. Rock up. Hip stretch. 3, 2, 1. Rock down. Rock up. 3, 2, 1. And rock down. So that's our crisscross glute stretch. Moving on then to the next movement. So now we have a couch stretch. So now you're going to need, I forgot my ottoman. Hold on. I forgot my ottoman. Ugh. Okay. I forgot this. I was supposed to grab this. Grab a chair. So the couch stretch, I got a video actually that just covers the couch stretch. You're going to take your foot, plant it on a chair. You're going to still use tucking that hip, not overarching, not leading with your belly. Tucking that hip and then, leaning forward. You should get a nice, good, easy hip stretch here. If my left leg is my back leg, I'm going to rotate to my right. Look over that shoulder. Make sure there's nobody on your 6. 6 is clear. Go ahead and switch sides. Just lunge up, replace the foot, go back into that couch kneeling position. It's baseball picture day. Tuck those hips, little lean forward, grab on the outside of the opposite leg. Use that bench or couch. Check your 6. No enemy Charlie clear. Delta Bravo. You did a good job. Couch stretch. Okay, moving on. Next thing is going to be a fire hydrant to glute kickback. So you guys are going to be in tabletop position here. Back is nice and flat. Dig your toes. Your wrists are below your shoulders. I should be able to set a nice glass of vino on your low back here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into fire hydrant, or some people call this swinging gait, without opening up your torso. So just swinging gait, and then from here, glute kickback. Fire that glute. Now we're going to go back into swinging gait and then close. Swinging gait, fire hydrant. Dog has to take a leak. Drive, glute fire. Burn. Swinging gait and close. So you'll see from the frontal view here, I'll switch sides. I would do probably about 6 reps per side. Keeping the chin tucked down. Swinging gait. I'm not changing my posture. Glute kickback, firing glute. Go back to swinging gait, close the knee. Okay, fire hydrant, dog has to take a pee-pee. Glute kickback, buns of steel. Back to swinging gait, don't let the dog out. And swing and close. Let's do one more side. One more time for each side, 1 repetition each side. So swinging gait, rotate open, without turning our torso. Glute kickback, try to fire your glute, isolate it, go back into swinging gait, and then close. Last time, just to make it even, swinging gait, dog has to take a pee-pee, glute kickback, buns of steel, Brazilian booty summer, swinging gait, and then close. I'm busting a little sweat here, I had to turn the AC off. Okay, last thing, straight leg, seated leg raise. So what you guys want to do here is you want to sit like as if you're a letter L. You're going to drive your hands into the ground. Then that's going to force yourself into good posture. Lock your legs and flex your thighs. Box your toes towards your kneecaps. Okay, so I'm pushing the ground away. Now what we're going to do is a straight leg raise. I'm going to lift up one leg, locking the knee. Hold for 3, 2, 1, and then set down. Drive that chest up, back nice and straight, lock out the leg, switch sides, 3, 2, 1, switch. Lock the legs, flex the thighs, box up the toes, lift, 2, 1, perfect. Chest up, stack your spine, boom, 3, 2, 1. Let's do 2 more. Palms into the ground. Boom, 3, 2, 1. I really suck at these. Switch sides. Last one, 3, 2, and 1. Oh, okay. That's all I got for you guys. Hip mobility, hip flexibility. Loosen up your tight back. I'm KG. This is Rough to Be Buff TV. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.